start thinking about that. Even as a team that is coming to Nakuru next week for the training, you may need to plan as a program how we are going to ensure that all the facilities that are using KenyaEMR are upgraded to the latest version. There is a new release that will be out soon. So, and this is a mandatory exercise. So I know some of the releases that we've done in the past, some facilities have not been upgraded to the latest version. But for this exercise, this will be a mandatory exercise to ensure that all sites are upgraded within 2 weeks. So we need to start thinking about that. But the really objective of this training today was just to ensure that you're familiar with the new changes we've made in the system. And also just think about the plans for upgrading for your sites. We didn't want this to come as an ambush when we get this communication from the ministry, given that the timelines are very short. So today being Friday, you can start thinking about how you're going to support your facilities to ensure they are upgraded. So without taking much time, I'll just take it back to Otieno so that he can take us through what is new in the system, both for KenyaEMR and DWAPI. Over to you, Otieno.
Yeah, thank you for those remarks, Diana. I think at some point Diana stated that we are having a training in Nakuru, but I think I just want to make the correction that the training will be in Eldoret, not Nakuru. So sorry for that. So quickly, I think I'll just put up the links one more time. So then if you have your laptop, we can work together. Yes, we can do this together. So feel free to log in. I'll just post this on the chat. So can anyone confirm if my screen is visible from your end?
It's visible.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so as I've already stated that the changes that were made on two fronts. They were made on KenyaEMR as well as on DWAPI. So as part of this exercise, there'll be two processes to this particular exercise. One will be to have like a one-off data dump from all the facilities that are using EMR to the central repository, to the central client registry. That will be a one-off exercise. But again, also for the facilities that are not using any EMR, the ministry has come up with a very simple application where they'll be able to do some sort of data abstraction from the file into a very simple app, and that will be submitted to the central registry. So it will cover almost all the facilities that are providing care and treatment. So we'll start with KenyaEMR and just see what changes have been made. So I'll just log in. Okay. So the changes that have been made on KenyaEMR have been made on the registration, the client registration section. So if you look at the client registration section right now, there are a couple of fields that have been added, as we are going to see. So I'll just start by maybe taking through what has changed in the process of creating a new patient. So if you look at my window, there is a section that has been added on top where we have the client verification with the client registry. So this means that for every client or patient that is coming in for enrollment, if you are going to create a new registration for this client, first you need to check whether their ID exists in the central registry. And when I'm talking about ID, we are talking about the formal government issued identifiers. That includes the national ID. It includes a driving license, a birth certificate, or passport. But for now, we are really focusing on the three. We have the birth certificate number, national ID, or passport number. So before creating any patient in the system, it is advisable that the user, first of all, checks whether that ID exists. Okay, so where it exists, for instance, if I use this ID, when you click validate, sorry, I have to specify the ID type. So this is national ID. So if I click validate, then that is what I see. There is a flag that the client is in the registry, and it gives me the unique patient identifier that is being issued by the central registry. Okay, so once I'm able to find that this patient exists, then you don't need to create the details afresh. You view the registry information, and the system will pull that data and give you the name, the registered name of that client, the client identifiers, the address, and the next of kin. So if you review this and you review this against, let's say, the patient ID card that maybe the provider will be requesting for at that point, then you can choose to just use those values. You just click use those values, and the values will be sent to this particular form. And as you can see, now I have a surname, I have a first name, I have the nationally unique patient identifier right there, and I have all the details that have been pulled from the central registry. So in this case, you can only add whatever is missing that you can collect from the patient, and then you create, you post to the registry, and then you create the patient. Okay, so that is what has changed on the registration window, and that is how we validate a patient whose identifiers already exist in the central registry, and that is how we create them in the system, so that we no longer need to start typing their names and everything afresh. So I want to hope that is clear. So that is one process. So the other process is where we have a patient whose ID doesn't exist. So let's say we can just say 88. So let's just remember that 235272888. So let's say we validate this identifier when a patient comes, and because this patient has never been registered, their details have never been sent to the central registry. So the system will try to look for it from the central registry online and fails to get it. So if it is not available, then that means we proceed and create that patient normally. We register that particular client normally. So I want to register this particular client normally. So let me just refresh so that we do away with the old details. So the first step is to first of all check whether they exist. 235272888. Then we validate. We fail to get it from the from the central registry. So then we proceed and create this patient in our system. So we specify the patient clinic number. Then we'll have to enter the national ID. And it is good to emphasize at this point that the ministry will require that patients are asked to come with their ID cards for confirmation, for verification. So if a patient doesn't have, let's say maybe they are minor clients like babies, they'll be required to get their birth certificate number. So at least there has to be some form of identification that the client has to present as you do this particular registration. So in this, we are going to have our ID number here. 7288. So that is the ID number. So we don't have the birth certificate number. We don't have the national unique ID, but there are additional numbers. As you can see, we have the passport number, we have Huduma number, we have alien ID number and driving license number. So all these are available. If the patient has any of these, you are able to register them in the system. So we'll specify the name. Okay, so that is the name of our patient. It's a female. So we just register them normally as you would any other client. But the only difference right here is that now you'll have to fill in almost everything. I think previously there was a couple of variables that were not very mandatory, but in this one you'll need to kind of fill in everything. So under the country, we have added the list, the drop down for countries. So we have Uganda and Tanzania, and this is to address the issue of cross-border, the patient that crossed the border to receive care within our border. But again, we need to know their nationality. So that's how we have ended up with having the Uganda and Tanzania under the list. So in this case, if you have Kenya, then we have to capture their phone numbers. If they have alternate phone numbers, postal address. County is a must. So we just go through the county, the sub-county, and the ward, the location. We need to fill in as much information as possible because these are needed for this particular data to go to be accepted in the central registry. Next of kin, again, this is mandatory. You have to fill in the next of kin. So we'll just say we specify the relationship. Then we give the phone number, which again is mandatory. Address. Then there's a field that has been added here, which you don't have to fill. The system will fill it once these particular details have been submitted to the central registry. So we do it, that is how we do it when we don't have the client details already in the central registry. So what you do next is that you post the information to the registry. So if I click post, what will happen is that the system will submit this data to the central registry, and then I'm supposed to get back the unique patient number for this particular patient, which then the patient will be able to use throughout his or her lifetime to receiving care across any facility within Kenya. So let's try to submit this. So I've just submitted that, and we have already received an assigned UPI. So the patient is number 165303140. So that is the number that has been assigned. And once it has been assigned, if I scroll up, you'll realize that the UPI number has already been auto-populated right here. So you don't have to remember it. So that happens automatically. All you need to do is now to create the patient so that you can save it in the local database. All right, so that is how we do the registration. I think that's the second part. The first part was where the patient was existing in the central registry. We validate the ID, then we view the information that has come from the central registry, then we populate any additional information and we save. The second approach is where the patient doesn't exist in the central repository, the central registry, sorry. We create the patient normally, we register them normally in the system, and then we submit those details to the central registry. Then we get the UPI number for that particular patient, which then they'll be assigned and they'll be using that number in any other facility in Kenya where they're using any form of system. So as you can see, our client has got a number right there. So that will be the number that they'll be using in any other facility while receiving care. Okay. So what we can do is just to maybe check with the central registry whether this patient is actually saved in the central registry. But this particular process is not very necessary when the users are using the system. I just want to do it so that we confirm that those details have already been sent there. So what we can do is just to edit these details. And then we specify the national ID for this client, and we try to validate. Yes, so when we validate, now we are told the patient exists and we are given the number that was assigned. Okay. And we can as well view the information about the client. It's the same client that we had created. So this will happen in another facility. So if this client walks into a second facility and they validate the national ID, they'll be able to view the same information and they'll be able to create this in their system and continue providing care to that particular patient. Okay. So I want to look at the scenario 3, the third scenario, because sometimes maybe the internet is not available, maybe the central server is not available, so the system is not able to submit this biodata and receive the unique patient identifier. So what happens is that the system will try to do this in the background, try and send until that point when it will be able to find the central server and submit the details and get the UPI number back. So that is actually the workflow. So once that fails, then there's going to be a background process to try and submit those. Okay, but again, you can be able to check from the list of the patients that have not been registered in the central registry. So what happens is that you come home, then we have a new application called the UPI verification that has been included. So if you click on this, you'll be able to see a list of clients who have been created in this system, but their details have not been verified. That is, their IDs have not been sent to the central registry for verification. So you can have a whole list here. So all you need to do, maybe if the services are back, the internet is there, you can do a retrospective verification where you just come to this client, you say verify client. Okay, then you come down, check that all the details about this patient are there, and the verified status is still pending. So all you need to do is to post that to the registry. Yeah, so you just need to post that to the registry, and if the central server is available, then you're supposed to be able to get the unique patient number. Okay, so that is kind of like a retrospective sort of verification. Okay, and again, you can also check under the summary to see the total number of attempted verifications that have been that are being attempted in the background, and the total of verified clients, and the total pending, which are again shown on this particular list. So basically, that is the walkthrough on how to do the validation and verification on the registration using the KenyaEMR. So there are again reports. We have a report. Patrick, I don't seem to get the report from the platform. I don't know if, was it on the same platform or a different one? Patrick?
Yes.
I don't seem to get the report that is listing the patients with pending verification.
It should be on common. All patients missing identifiers. Just yeah.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't seeing it. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so we have a report again, just to kind of list out all the patients that are missing identifiers. So these are patients that were created in this system, but they are yet to be verified using the central registry. So it's a long report. It's a kind of like, because it picks everybody that has never been verified. So it takes quite some time to run. Okay, here we are. So we can, yes, so we can look at the entire list. In our list, I think we are having about 557. Then you can now, one by one, have a process where you verify these particular clients. Okay. So if you look at the client profile for the client that have not been verified, you are going to find a yellow banner just to kind of warn the provider that this particular client has not been verified. So then they can just go to, they can first of all ask the patient to bring their identification document before they proceed and validate that to the central registry. But I think what needs to be emphasized is that the users are not supposed to just verify a client from the word of mouth. There'll be a requirement for the patient to bring in their national identifiers. And that, I think, was part of the circular. Okay, so that is what we have on KenyaEMR. So I want to go to the next step where we are going to do a one-off data dump as part of the verification exercise. So all facilities will be required to do a data dump into the National Central Repository using the DWAPI. So we'll just go to the DWAPI platform and see what changes have been made here. So for the sake of this exercise, a new item has been added, a new data set has been added under the DWAPI. It is called the Client Registry Services. So this is what will be used to do that one of data dump. So what happens is that this will be run against the facility database. So you just click load normally as you'd load. And once you've loaded and the load is successful, you can review what data are what what columns, what variables are being collected. So it's a whole list of variables. So we have the CCC number, the first name, middle name, last name, passport, all those identifications, education, gender, occupation. Let's keep scrolling. Current on ART, whether they are currently on ART or not, their date of birth, phone numbers, alternative phone numbers, all through to county, sub-county. Let's just keep scrolling. Then we have the MFL code, next of kin, date of initiation. The other one is treatment outcome, if that is if the patient was maybe discontinued for some reason. Date of last visit, date of last viral load, next appointment, the last regimen where they were, the last regimen line, the PK, the patient PK, site code, the facility ID, and then the EMR that was used to submit that data. So that is kind of a whole list of variables that are being collected and submitted. So once you are able to load that and you are sure everything is checking out, you simply click send, and then you wait for that data to go. And that's how it happens. So again, this will be a one-off kind of upload. And I think from Diana's remarks, that's what she was referring to when she was saying that one, it will require that all facilities are upgraded to the latest version of KenyaEMR, because this DWAPI will only work with that the latest version of KenyaEMR. So that's it. That's the changes, a set of changes that have been made to facilitate that exercise. So at this point, I don't know if there's anything that I missed. Patrick or Anthony and Kosgei, if you're on the call, if maybe there's anything that you might want to add.
Otieno, maybe Patrick has a comment.
Yeah, you can look at the list of UPI verification, and I think your client just was verified. I think there was a lag in internet.
Yes, I realized there was a lag, but that was the process. I think I'd shown the process of doing that verification using the report. Sorry, yeah, using this report, as I mentioned, the users will be able to just go through the report, view the patient registration, and then like this one doesn't have an ID. So once they bring an ID, it's just a matter of entering that ID here. And checking out that all the required details are put in. Yeah, so just checking that everything has been entered, all the required variables are filled, then you post to the registry. And I think, Patrick, there's still a lag, but that is the process of verification. So all the time, if this doesn't happen, sorry. If it doesn't happen, the status of the central registry verification will remain pending until there's such a time when the system will be able to submit this data. Okay. Yeah, so thanks for that, Patrick. I don't know if I missed anything from DWAPI, Koske.
Yes, we are all good.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm saying we are all good. I think you covered all the areas. I think nothing much has changed with respect for the new docket.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So then, so those are the set of changes that we made on both KenyaEMR and DWAPI to kind of support and facilitate the upcoming exercise. But I think also to mention that now, after the verification exercise, moving forward, all patients will have to be validated as they come to be registered in any facility. So requirement of ID, requirement of those identification documents will be a norm for all the clients. So then at least somebody will have to carry some sort of identification document as they come for care. So the validation will be a continuous exercise. But then again, the data dump will be a one-off exercise. All right, so I think at this point, I think I just want to unshare my screen and then just see whether we have comments or questions from the team. Yeah, so I think at this point, anyone with a question, feel free to just raise up your hand if you'd like to verbalize your question, or if you just want to write it in the comment section. Anyone with a question or a comment? Oh, seems like there is none. I'm looking up the comment section to see if there's any question. What happens for individuals who don't have IDs? Yes, yeah, so as I've explained, is that one, if the client is underage, they don't have a national ID, then we'll be using their birth certificate number. So at least what is expected or what is assumed at this point is that somebody must have some form of identification. But then again, I think the patient will not be denied care because they don't have an ID. The process will proceed. It's just that their statuses will remain pending until that point, when they'll come with any form of identification and they get verified. That is when that process will complete. But in terms of service provision, I think that will not be interrupted. They'll still continue receiving care. But again, the system will keep on reminding you that such a person has not been verified. The other comment from Jacob Masai, any dashboard to aid in visualizing the progress made in terms of validation in specific levels for easier tracking or workload. I would let Wango to answer that if there are plans to have some dashboards on the same, but I know that from the central registry side, there will be some dashboards where anyone would be able to log in and see to just check and see the status of verification. But again, there'll be no any identifying information, purely dashboard just to show some basic statistics on the progress of the verification exercise. So I don't know, Wango, if you want to make a comment whether there are plans to have local dashboards, just to kind of see the number verified, the number not verified, something like that.
Yes, we have that in that page of OP verification. We have number verified, pending, and total, and a listing of the pending. I think the other dashboard will be at the national level.
So will we have that as a report as it is right now, or do we expect to have like a dashboard, have it as part of dashboards on KenyaEMR?
Yes, there's a report for those who are pending verification. Unless you wanted another one.
Okay. Yeah. So let me. Is it possible to have these details captured at the point of client entry to care through Muzima? That is for enrollment moving forward. Yeah. So I think those are some of the discussions. There are discussions around having some of these details captured using the mobile applications that we support. But for now, I think we have them on KenyaEMR, but I think discussions are ongoing around having them on the mobile platforms. And I think maybe I'll let Wango speak to that, whether where those plans are, or whether we are going to have them on AfyaStat, or whether we are going to have them on the Ushauri or the ARC directory, if we are going to have something like that. So I'll let Wango comment on the same as I keep on looking at the list. Wango?
Hi, Otieno.
Oh, hi, Anthony.
Yeah, yeah. So we are in the same room here. We are trying to mute.
Yeah, let
So
your partner.
I think as of now there are no plans to actually integrate with the mobile applications. So the focus is just on the EMR.
Okay. So I think the question was asking whether there are plans going into the future to do that integration. All right. Then Peter Njoka is asking, is the list of clients with no identifiers generated from the all patient list? And if so, I hope the list filters. So it is not generated from the all client list, but there's a dedicated report on the client missing verified IDs. So it's a different report as much as it is pulling from everyone, but it's a different report that specifically going to pull the client that are missing the IDs. So in that case, there'll be no need for filters. And again, I know you are asking whether it is also pulling from the clients that are inactive. And I think Anthony or Patrick, you might want to confirm this, that the list is only pulling from the active clients from the system. Patrick?
What was the question?
The question is whether the list of missing identifiers pulls from all the clients, including the inactive clients, or does it only pull from the active clients?
I think we might do a modification on this and pull all clients that are on app. Because those are actually our clients that are subject of
Patrick, you're breaking. We didn't get you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying we might need to modify this list to pull from clients who have are on act, since these are subject for the exercise, the verification exercise.
So right now it pulls from everyone?
Yes, currently it was pulling from everyone, but we might need to do a bit of discussion with our with the rest of the team. But I think there has been a suggestion to filter for clients who are on AT.
Okay. Yeah. Then I think I'm just going through the list of questions. Looking at the time, I think we have 10 more minutes. So yeah, we can still answer a few questions. What about those partners who use different EMR? How does the DWAPI work? Yes, so DWAPI just, and this is coming from Humphrey. So I think DWAPI has been able to support other EMRs other than KenyaEMR. And I think maybe I'll let Kosgei speak to that. I think the participant is asking whether the DWAPI is able to support other EMRs other than KenyaEMR in terms of doing this particular data dump.
Yes, so the way DWAPI is developed, it can support multiple EMRs. So currently we are supporting KenyaEMR. We have eCare, that is for the EDAP team. We also have AMRS. I think we also have Dreams. So I think it will support any EMR because there is nothing, the communication is based on the data you provide. You're able to transmit the same data. So it should work with any EMR.
All right, thanks for that, Koske. I think second last question is Hastings is asking about the batch verification. Some databases are huge. Is there a plan to enable batch verification? I'm not sure what that means, but I think during the verification exercise, it will be done on a patient by patient basis. And I think there's going to be some sort of RRI to do this particular verification. So it will be at individual patient basis. But again, for DWAPI, this is just kind of picking the data that is available and dumping it to the central registry. So that's why I think I'm confused about the batch verification. Then the last one.
Otieno.
Yes.
Maybe on the point of batch verification, I think there is the element of human intervention. Yeah, there is the element of human intervention where you really want to see what is coming from the client registry, because, you know, suppose from the registry, maybe they have data that is not very updated or very current, and at the facility, at the point of verification, you have this updated data. You don't want that data to overwrite what you have locally. And that's why we enforced a workflow where, I mean, one needs to physically verify that the data that is coming from the registry can be used in the EMR. Otherwise, you use the buttons where you just accept the different sections that you would want to have in the EMR. So batch is good, but I think it beats the logic or the purpose of verifying, because and you've heard of cases where ID numbers are shared. So I know there are not many, but when it comes to systems, you really have to handle the use case. So when you verify with the client registry, one really needs to see what is coming and then accepting the values appropriately. I don't know if that was clear.
Yeah, I guess it is. So I think the last two questions are for you again, Anthony. One, in the instances where clients share identifiers from the registry, how are the duplicates treated at the registry level? So you may want to answer that. Then I think you might want to combine it with the last one, where a patient is having multiple identifiers locally in the local EMR instance. Which identifier, which identifier type is used to verify this patient? Yeah, so I think that's what David Carl is asking. I'm sure I've captured it correctly. So if you want to just respond to those two questions.
Yeah, so we, on the first issue, where we have shared identifiers, we discussed this with the MOH team, and we agreed that this will be the function, it will be a function of the client registry, so that, you know, at facility level, we don't struggle with, yet we know very well that we are not able to uniquely identify clients. So the interaction between the EMR and the registry results in an UPI from the registry, and that is, I think that's all the EMR requires. We had more discussions on how they can handle it at registry level, but I think that implementation is beyond, the scope of this meeting. It's technical and stuff, but I think the main point was that the registry needed to handle such people and don't let the EMRs continue, or basically block EMRs from the verification process if there are cases of duplicates. So basically, I'm saying that discussion is at the registry level and it's technical, so we may not need to actually discuss it here. Then, does the report specify the type of unique identifier used? So which report is this one? Yes, since there are different identifiers and the national. So I think there is a circular by the MOH that outlines the national identification numbers that one can use. Those are the ones that will be pushed to the registry. Those are the ones that will be pushed to the registry and will be used for verification. So if you use any, that is, I know the registry as it is currently is wired to handle national ID, birth certificate number, and passport number. So those three are the ones which are currently supported at the registry. But at the EMR, we may have additional identifiers. That's why we've provided for many fields to collect them, so that anytime this client goes to another facility and they provide not only the three that are currently supported, then the registry will still be able to know or to get or to uniquely identify this client. So as it is right now, the registry only supports three, but that scope will be expanded to support all the nationally identified numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that has been very clear. Time check is 10:58, 2 minutes to end this particular session. So I think one thing I would really like to emphasize is that the process of verification requires internet connectivity. So there has to be internet for the local instance to communicate to the central instance. So then you can get the unique patient number and you can successfully accomplish the verification. So I just think that is very important to emphasize. Again, I think maybe I would like to give Kosuke maybe just one chance to talk about, because I know some partners have been conducting the DWAPI uploads from their boardrooms. They go collect databases, come to the boardroom and upload. So this particular exercise of data dump, what is your advice for the partners in terms of conducting this particular exercise?
Yes, I would suggest they load it from site so that we get accurate or up-to-date information. And also the upload should be quite small, because we are not loading the visits, pharmacy extract. We're just loading that single extract. So if you can go to a site and load it, it should be quite fast to send. It's not a lot of data, just the patient's extract only. So nothing So I would recommend you load it from site so that we get the most accurate information. And it's a one-off exercise, so it's something you can just go and do it, not a daily task. Yes.
All right. Yeah, so I think then that's very clear. So if there are no further questions or comment, I think I just want to maybe one more time invite Diana to just provide the final remarks on this. Then we can conclude. Diana.
Oh, thanks, Otieno, and thanks everyone again. I think we've had a great discussion on the same. So my challenge to the team, let's really think about how we are going to do upgrades. I think that is the only challenge I would want to throw to the team. We don't have really much time. This exercise is time bound. So the upgrade really needs to happen as soon as possible. So, and especially for the team that will be in Eldoret next week, and your organization is dependent on you to think about the upgrade plan, please think about it now. Ensure that that is already delegated and the exercise can start as soon as possible. If you have very many sites, I don't know, you may need to think of strategies to ensure that that upgrade is done. Actually, the timeline is 2 weeks, and the reason why we even have this meeting today is we didn't want you guys to be caught off guard, because I think that communication will be coming up, but it's good to just thinking about how we'll ensure that all facilities, like I mentioned when I was starting, this is a mandatory upgrade. I know the other upgrades have been at the discretion of the partner to decide whether I'm upgrading or not, or timelines, but this exercise, it's a mandatory upgrade for all sites that are offering care and treatment. So it's just a challenge to you. And thanks again for taking your time to come here. Over to your team.
All right, thank you. So the final one is, I think, is just to inform you that NASCOP is planning to have a national sensitization on the same on Tuesday next week. So I hope all of us will get time to join that particular sensitization session led by NASCOP. Otherwise, I think that does it from our end. I just want to take this opportunity again to say thank you for joining in, as much as the notice was very short. And I hope that we've learned something. The instances, the test instances are up, so you can still practice on your own. Don't fear submitting data to the registry. It still goes to the test instance at the central registry. So you can practice and also cascade that knowledge to your colleagues and also your users. So otherwise, thank you very much, and have a great Friday and a nice weekend ahead. Thanks and bye.